안녕하세요 여러분, 제르민 AJ예요. My name is AJ and welcome back to Shadow Spinner Reacts, where we are continuing with episode 3 of My Demon. Now, if you haven't seen this yet, you can currently go watch it on Netflix. Make sure you watch it there first and then come back. You can also go ahead and check out the Patreon, where you can vote in polls to decide what we watch up next on the channel, get content up to 3 weeks early, and also get my full uncut reactions, or you can just hang out with me here on YouTube. Also, if you like this kind of content, please go ahead and drop a like, a subscription, or make any comments that you want down below. It really helps me out in the algorithm. But where we left off, he's doing our wonderful demon is doing a truly terrible job of winning a single human heart, which is kind of hilarious considering like that's his whole shtick, is like appealing to human hearts, and he's making like not even every mistake in the book. He's just being dumb. Like, really, what were you thinking when you just, like, threw her into a lake without warning? Like, how did you think that was gonna go, buddy? He didn't do the obvious thing, which would be just, like, to go ahead and hold her hand and show her some magic, which would be the fastest way to get her to understand that she's dealing with the supernatural and that he needs his tattoo back. Like, that would... Then they could have an actual deal, not like a soul trading deal, but a I help you, you help me, general basic human level deal. Like that would have been the obvious and intelligent way of approaching this, but in 200 years he clearly hasn't developed basic common sense, probably because he hasn't needed it in the past, because magic. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. All right, and she just found out that the guy who was trying to slip her information committed suicide. In heavy air quotes, because we all know that that's not what happened. And I'm fairly certain she has easily pieced together that that's not what happened. I'm guessing this is sulfuric acid. You know, considering how often I see this being used as an attack in dramas, like, how easy is it to actually prepare that? I don't want to look it up because I don't need my search history to have weird things in it like that. You start having search history like, how do they do this nefarious thing? And then people, they like start sending red flags up, like, why are they researching how to do these nefarious things? Like, no, I'm just curious because I see it in dramas.
염산, 너 그럼 지금...
There! That's what you should have done before. That would have been the fastest way to explain to her, is to do some type of trick before this.
그때도 내가 잘못 본 게 아니었어.
너희들은 이렇게도 부르지. 악마.
But he doesn't even know all of the facts about himself, because even he said he doesn't know what the timeline is. You would think that whoever put him in this position and gave him a manual on himself would have told him, like, the clear rules and everything like that. But maybe that's to keep the demons afraid of something, is to not let them know what the boundaries are.
테러에 사용된 건 황산입니다.
I would say called it, but like there's a very limited amount of options for that.
도도에는 왜 이렇게 안 나오는 거야 대체? 깜짝이야.
고소한 아라비카예요.
Arabica? Oh, is that the Arabica Gold instant coffee? Because that actually is really good. And if he called it rubbish, he is mistaken. It's one of my favorites.
악마면 악마지. 데몬은 또 뭐야? 포켓몬도 아니고 오글거리게.
포켓.
Are you a Pokemon?
쉽게 말해서 인간들의 소원을 들어주는 거지.
아, 요술램프 지니?
어디 그딴 벌크업된 스머프 같은 애를.
Beefy Smurf?
있잖아, 내가.
너에게 놀라운 능력이 있고 그 원천인 타투가 나한테 있다는 거지.
She's like, I have something of value to you.
너도 그동안 참 많이 곤란했겠다. 내 경원하자.
경원? 그게 무슨?
아,
You're going to protect me and
바디가드.
I'll keep your tattoo safe for you.
지금 나보고 너 대신 싸우라고? 데몬이 진짜 무슨 포켓몬인 줄 아나?
막말로 내가
Yes.
죽으면 너도 곤란하잖아. 내가 죽으면 네 타투는 어떡해?
She's a businesswoman for a reason.
번을 말해. 절대 경호는 안 한다고.
It's the title that bothers him.
내가 뒤에서 밀착막 할 테니까. 여기 보안은 철저한 거지?
언행 불일치죠 않아.
Like, you're acting like a bodyguard, you just don't want to be called one? I refuse to be your bodyguard. What's the security like here?
그놈이 또 집으로 쳐들어가면 어쩌지? 그 여자가 죽어버리고 능력이 사라지면 앞으로 내 계약은 어떻게 해? 계약?
그렇게 걱정되면 그냥 경호원하지.
박 실장님까지 왜 그래? 대모 어떻게 경호원을 하라는 거야?
원래 데모는 경호원 출신이잖아.
무슨 그런 말도 안 되는 개소리를 하죠.
원래 데모는 인간의 곁에 머물며 인간을 지켜주던 인간의 수호신이었다.
Humans were originally guardians?
진짜 능력도 같이 사라지나?
그걸
doesn't know.
모르니까 지금 내가 이러는 거
He
아니야.
doesn't know. Nobody knows. This has never happened to him before. He doesn't know what the rules are.
필요한 얘기는 하나도 없고 맨 겁주는 얘기만 잔뜩 있다는 설명서 그냥 확 갖다 버릴까 보든. 이지.
It's full of threats and has no useful information.
나 당장 피부과 가서 레이저로 타투 지져버린다.
지금 감히 대문을 협박하는 거야?
Yes, she is.
완료. 시술 5초 전, 4초 전, 3, 2, 1 뽀로로 완성.
이런 도라이.
That's covered with pororo. Why pororo of all things? So for those of you who don't know, I will find a picture of pororo. That's pororo. Okay, that's pororo.
미래그룹 재무팀장이 자살했다고 나오길래 그 사람이 나한테 어제 전화를 했었거든. 무슨 중요한 정보가 있다고.
별일 아니니까 오지랖 떨지 말고 니네 회사나 잘해.
See, I thought she was working at what was originally her company and that she had just worked her tail off so much that she was running it for her now. But no, they have their own separate. She independently built her own company.
재무
Dude, that is a lot of data to sift through. Although if I do have to sift through data, I also prefer doing it by hand. I like inputting data into a computer, but when I'm reading it, it's much better by hand. The screen becomes too much at some point.
잃어버릴 때와 똑같은 조건이어야 한다는 거지.
똑같은 조건이면
장소, 온도, 날씨 등 조건이 맞는
No,
상황에서
no,
물에
these
빠지면
are all
타투도
those are
바로
all
돌아올 거야.
not the correct conditions. Like I think he was on the correct track with the conditions have to be the same, but I think he's focusing on the wrong condition.
왜 쓸데없는 소리를 하? 우와, 우와, 우와,
생명이 위험 앞에서 자백할 수밖에 없었어.
My life was at risk, I had to confess. So what you need to do is you need to go to her and say you need to add a condition, and that condition is that she has to come with you to form contracts and collect on them.
세수도 못하고 나왔네.
So he's actually 2 contracts behind because he was trying to make a contract with her that didn't happen. So that's one contract to replace the first one he collected on. And then he's also collected on another contract since then. So there's actually 2 spots missing on his clock wall.
잊었어? 우린 운명 공동체잖아. 우리가 한 배를 탔다는 사실을 단 한순간도 잊지 마.
He's giving her back her own words. Like you don't have to convince her. She already wanted this particular deal.
아프지 않게만 해주세요. 단 하루만이라도 제발. 제 소원이에요.
내가 들어줄게. 그 소원.
But here's the thing. This is not a person who deserves to have their soul taken in exchange.
계약 조건은 간단해. 10년 뒤엔 네가 지옥에 가는 거야. 빨리 결정해. 아니면 다른 인간 찾을 거니까. 저기 그 케이크 맛집 아는 데 있어? 디저트 회사 대표잖아.
케이크?
She won't make a
일
deal with you
끝나면
now.
달콤한 디저트를 먹는 버릇이 있거든.
넌 사람들의 불행을 이용하고 있어.
이용하는 게 나쁜 거야? 너도 날 이용하려는 거잖아.
네가 살아온 생은 한순간 한순간 다른 사람의 절박함과 불행으로 이루어진 거야. 넌 그게 아무렇지도 않아?
도대체 왜 이렇게 뾰족하게 구는지 모르겠지만 난 저들을 구원해 준 거야. 봤잖아. 고통 속에서 죽어가는 아이.
내가 사랑하는 사람의 희생으로 내 삶이 연장된 걸 알면 저 아이는 행복할 수 있을까?
그를
Yeah, you're not gonna win on this argument, buddy.
회사로 바로 이동하자.
아니, 난 널 이용하지 않을 거야. 그럼 나 역시 사람들의 불행을 이용하는 거니까.
목숨이 위험해지면 결국 내 능력을 이용하게 될 걸.
I don't really think so, buddy.
더러운 짓도 모자라 사람을 죽여. 죄를 지었으면 죄값을 받아야지.
So it's somebody that she knows and somebody that she is not at all afraid of. I don't think it's the cousin because he seems like the wrong age. Because I believe it probably has something to do with the death of her parents. Which his parents clearly did not benefit from.
그 시각 추락 지점의 해수 온도는 15.8도야. 근데
You're focusing on the wrong
이게
things.
진짜 키포인트인데 그날은 보름달이 떴어.
Okay, I can see where that would seem to be important, but you're missing the part where the person who fell into the water with you
너무 긴데.
chose
근데 이
to
사람 경호원 하기로
risk
한거
her
아니었어?
life to try and save yours. That I think is an important factor that you are missing out on, sir.
이번 설탕 주스
But if
해결 방안으로
they were originally Guardians, that means that the whole deal thing was not originally part of what they were.
넌 인간이 아니라 모르나 본데 인간에겐 죄책감이라는 감정이 있어.
Didn't he used to be human?
전혀.
엄마 아빠가 나 때문에 힘들고 아프지 않았으면 좋겠어요. 그게 내 소원이에요.
And now because of you, that wish can never come true.
연속꽃 좋아하지?
Excuse me.
생일 축하합니다. 생일 축하합니다.
I understand the trade. I understand being willing to make the trade. I actually really do understand that. As a mother, I can understand making that trade for my child. But as the children of my parents, if I found out that my parents made that kind of trade for me, I would never recover from it. He did something that on the surface seems like, oh, he gave them a miracle, but he is specifically looking for people who are desperate and terrified and afraid and taking advantage of their suffering. And he's doing it to extend his own existence because that's his entire existence. So it's like you don't get to call other people selfish when literally you are sacrificing other people every day and there's no discernment.
이거 그 무기는 없나요? 권총이라든가.
Martial arts for bodyguards? You can't learn martial arts from a book. You can't learn martial arts from a
아유,
book.
내가 무기라 딱히 필요는 없지 뭐.
You can't learn it from a book. You can not learn it from YouTube. Like, you can try to copy their motions and everything, but when you're actually practicing martial arts, you have to be, there has to be tension there. You have to be hitting. And preferably it has to be another human being because it's not the same as just hitting like a wave master, like, or a punching bag. You've got to be practicing with other people, especially people of different heights and different body sizes, because you don't know what situation you're going to end up in. And if you haven't practiced against any variety of opponents, then you, as a bodyguard, you don't know what type of opponent you're going to come across. You really can't learn it from a book.
너야말로 왜 마음 바꿨어? 내 능력 안 쓴다더니.
나쁜 놈 상대하는 데는 나쁜 놈이 제격이니까.
It takes one business scum to deal with another.
원래 난 인간이었어. 지옥에서 일할 일꾼이 필요했던 신이 선택받은 인간을 데몬으로 만들었다. 선택받은 인간.
빼어나서 선택한 게 아니라 적성에 맞으니까 선택한 거겠지.
She hires people all the time. You had certain characteristics that were needed, not necessarily positive ones.
주여사?
Oh, I hope nothing's happened to her.
또 바닥에 앉아 있어. 진통제를 또 얼마나 먹으려고. 못 살아 진짜.
Something has happened to her. She's gone. She's actually gone. I was not expecting us to lose that character, especially this early in the series. I mean, it makes sense. We know who did it. Well, we don't know who did it, but whoever was in her room that she was talking to did it.
우리가 가서 위로라도 해야 될까 봐요.
어설픈 위로는 오히려 상처가 될 거예요.
너 때문에 죽은 거니까.
우리가 신이라도 돼? 너 때문에 사람들이 죽어나가게.
그래야지.
You have to let yourself cry. Wounds become scars if you don't.
아직도 난 그냥 다 장난 같아. 지금이라도 나타나서 놀랐지 이거사 하면서.
고모님이 돌아가시기 전에 감사팀을 꾸리라고 지시하셨나 봐. 뭐 중단되긴 했는데 서류상 처리 좀 하고 오느라고.
지금이 조선시대인 줄 아나. 장남이다 무슨 소용이라. 오죽하면 음주운전했다고 깜빵까지 보냈을까. 나 왠지
good.
엄마가
She's gonna leave it to
너희들은
Dodori.
항상 좀 이제 편들어줄 엄마도 없는데.
I would smack her for saying that at her mother's
적당히
funeral.
마셔. 사람들 앞에서 본 모습 보이기 싫으면.
Wow. The level of disrespect. I understand laughing at a funeral, actually. Both of my grandfathers, at their funerals, there was laughter when we were telling stories about things that happened during their lives, but it was tied to, like, their lives and sharing moments that we will always remember from their lives. It wasn't laughing about the benefits that we were going to get from them not being alive anymore. That's just sick.
아무도 없는 줄 알고. 필래?
주여선 담배 냄새 싫어해.
할머니? 돌아가셨잖아. 어차피 다 아버지 거고 곧 내게 될 거니까 칙칙한 노인 냄새보다는 담배 냄새가 낫지 않나?
I would hit
주여선
him
담배
too.
냄새 싫어한다고.
나도 좀 껴주라.
당신 경호원이야.
아니, 퇴근했어. 안 먹음?
Ah.
회산 마음이 안 좋을 때마다 여기 온실에 처박혀서 나오질 않았어.
I have a feeling that
그게
in
이해가 안
her
됐는데
actual will, she left a
오늘은
lot
이해가
to
가네.
Dodoi. Probably because it was
시켜준
originally
건
her parents to begin with, because they said that her parents
주여사는
were some of the original founders of Mirai.
알고 있었어. 주여사는.
장례식에서 검은 옷을 입는 이유가 뭔지 알아? 죽은 사람의 영혼이 알아보고 쫓아올까 봐.
난 옷을 잘못 입었네. 지여사 덕분에 마음껏 악맛을 낄 수 있었어.
I got to act like the devil's spawn as much as I wanted. That's her thank you.
얘는 무슨 자격으로 여기 앉아 있는 거야?
형사가 다 같이 들어야 한다고 해서요.
I don't know why I'm suddenly reminded of Knives Out, but that the whole room and the vibe of the family plus the one outsider that's the only one that actually cared about the deceased.
당에 복용하신 약이 디클로페나.
그럴 리가 없어요. 그 약은 알러지가 있어서 절대 안 드시는 약이에요. 그리고 감사팀.
대표님을 미래그룹 회장으로 만들어줄 대단한 카드라는 것만 우선 알려드리죠.
Okay. So she very quickly is putting it
차
together.
팀장이 말한 카드가 누군가의 부패 정황이라면 그래서 주여사를 죽인 거야. 그걸 캐는 걸 막으려고.
사람들이 떠들어댈 생각하니까
Oh
벌써부터
no,
머리가
you
아프네요.
didn't.
고인의 디클로페낙 부작용을 아는 건 누구시죠?
주치. 그리고 여기 있는 모두가 다 알아요.
Yeah, she's like, I ain't hiding jack for y'all.
다들 이딴 속들 잘하고.
아니요, 안 해 못해 절대. Oh, it is time to wage war on all of these people.
주여선 살해당했어.
Yep, say it in front of
이건
everybody.
심장마비도 의료사고도 아닌 살인이야.
위의 수중단은 미래 F&B 대표 도도이로 지정한다.
그냥 파티가 아니라 서프라이즈 파티였어?
조건은 증여자 주천숙의 사후 1년 이내 조건이 이행되지 않을 경우 그 또한 한사랑 재단에 기부한다.
And I love how there's that side note in it
고인께서 직접 편지를
that said that if she doesn't get married, which includes, by the way, if she dies, that means that means that she didn't get married, which means that it gets donated to the welfare foundation, which means it still doesn't go to them. So even if they kill her, they don't become next in line to inherit, because the thing is, if she doesn't meet the conditions to inherit, there's a secondary inheritor that is not them. And if she does inherit, then she's not from their family. They would never inherit from her anyway.
안 할 거죠?
He's like, well, I'm not giving it to you. Even if I don't accept it, I will follow her wishes and give it to the Welfare Foundation before I give it to you.
내가 악마와 손을 잡아서라도 진실을 밝혀줄 테니까. 나랑 해요. 결혼.
Oh, that was the ring that Madame Zhu gave her in the, I think it was in the first episode. You have to accept it. Even if you reject it later, don't embarrass her in this situation. Because she really needs backup right now. Wow. Wow. Okay, so for a lot of the funeral stuff, I was silent because there's no commentary to be put on top of that. Like, it's just, the whole situation sucks. Madame Zhu's family sucks, with the possible exception of the one guy, I'm trying to remember, was he she calls him her cousin, but he's not really, obviously. I'm trying to think, is Madame Zhu his aunt, I want to say? I need a family tree for this. But the fact that all of them, well, it was weird also that he wasn't in that room with them, because he is a relative, but he wasn't in that room with them. I mean, it lent to the dramatic effect of everybody else in the room agreeing to cover it up, but it's still very weird that he, as an actual, I believe he was an actual family member, was not included in that conversation with the detectives, because he should also know about the allergy. And now I've gone from thinking that he might be the only person on our side to thinking that he's a little suspicious just in the how much they're separating him from the rest of the family. Like, oh, he's the good one. And I'm like, now I don't trust that. Although he has given her information that is useful to her, that if he was the bad guy would not benefit him if she had it. Like, for instance, finding out that the audit had happened in the first place and that it's been called off now because of the funeral. Like, these are things that if he really was the culprit, he would benefit from her never finding that out at all. Unless he assumed that she already knew about it because they tell each other everything. So he might have thrown that out there to see how much she knows. I'm uncertain about his character. Everybody else is genuine scum. They might not be guilty of murder, but they are absolute trashy scum. Absolute trashy scum. Irredeemable, absolute trashy scum. You find, first of all, and we didn't see the police agreeing to go along with the ruse of lying about it. They have zero obligation to follow the family's wishes to not disclose it. In fact, I think they're not allowed to lie about it unless there's an ongoing investigation and they don't want to alert the suspect. But since most of the suspects were in that room, I'm just saying, like, it's just like... However, it's really interesting because on the one hand, she did say that she announced publicly this was a murder and it's the same person that's trying to kill me. Which on the one hand would make her seem less suspicious, because if she was actually guilty of killing Madame Zhu, then obviously she wouldn't want the public to know it was a murder. However, in the eyes of law enforcement, she now it would be pretty high up on the suspect list just because she gained the most. She didn't know she was going to gain the most and whatnot, so there's that. The other high suspect would be the son that was acting like he was already the CEO because he thought he was going to gain the most, and so that's a strong motive. Is they usually look at who gained the most from this. His son also, who was like, oh yeah, my dad's gonna get it and then I'll get it right away. And then I'm like thinking about that and I'm just like, wait, so you think your dad's gonna get it and then like it won't be too long before it's yours, which means that you don't think your dad's gonna be around very long. Like, did that seem weird or suspicious to any of y'all? That it was almost like he was like, yeah, once my dad has it, I'm next in line to inherit, so all I need is for my dad to have an accident and then it's all mine. That's what that came across as to me. That's exactly how that came across. And like, even if you're a selfish, greedy person, there's a line between being selfish and greedy and celebrating your inheritance and then actually saying that the death of your grandmother is a happy day. There's something not quite right up here. Like, really not quite right up there. I'm just saying, there's a lot. I really, really, really hope that he doesn't disagree in this moment with the marriage proposal, because she's got a lot of witnesses and she needs them to see that she's got someone on her side. If he rejects her right now and she's alone in this situation, that would be really, really bad. So I'm thinking that he's going to accept it. And also, that would give him a title that's not bodyguard, because he's been continuously saying he doesn't want the title of bodyguard. It'll also give him access to places that he might not have access to as a bodyguard, because I can see situations, I can see circumstances where bringing a bodyguard with you into like a private meeting or something like that would be seen as incredibly offensive, because you're basically saying that you don't feel like you're safe in that meeting room unless the guard comes in with you. And he actually has to physically be in the room with her, because he's got to be able to touch her wrist in order to access his abilities. So he does have to be in the room with her. So being having the label of fiance gives him an excuse to be with her, because then she can be like, he's my fiance, I can't run two companies, so he's being trained in as my business partner who will run one or the other companies with me, so that she has a stronger reasoning for him to actually be like glued to her sides at all times. But that's going to be it for today. So thank you so much for watching this with me. I hope you are enjoying this show as much as I am. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Annyeong.